Christmas in Bethlehem as the war rages on. WHO chief decries decimation of Gaza health system. Good afternoon. Merry Christmas to all our Christian viewers. You're watching World Today. I'm Jessica Lee. Now, Gaza's deadliest ever war cast a pall of gloom over Bethlehem on Christmas Eve as the death toll spiraled and Israel shifted its efforts against Hamas to the besieged territories south. Now, the Gaza Health Ministry said an Israeli strike late yesterday killed at least 70 people in Al-Maghazi refugee camp in central Gaza and destroyed several houses. As the war rages on, Christians around the world mark Christmas Eve. Festivities are usually held in Bethlehem, where faithful believe Jesus was born. But this year, the city is almost deserted, with few worshippers around and no Christmas tree erected, after church leaders decided to forego any unnecessarily festive celebrations in solidarity with Gazans.
Christians and Muslims live here, not only Muslims. We are all one. We are all Palestinian. We have the same, danger from the soldiers. And they must know the truth, that we are not a terrorist groups. We are normal people who lived a happy life before what was happened or what is happening right now.
Gaza Health Ministry spokesman Ashraf Al-Qudra said the toll is likely to rise as many families were thought to be in the area at the time of the strike. Israel's withering military campaign, including massive aerial bombardment, has killed so far 20,424 people, mostly women and children. The Christmas cheer has deserted the streets of Syria's cities, where the main churches have limited celebrations to prayers in solidarity with Palestinians suffering war in Gaza. Damascus residents such as Rachel Haddad, 66, said she had been glued to her phone for more than 2 months, reading news of devastation in Gaza, and did not have the heart to put up a Christmas tree. The northern Syrian city's central district of Azizia is usually home to a bustling festive market and a huge Christmas tree, while its streets are adorned with lights and trinkets. But this year, the main square is almost empty, and there are no Christmas decorations in sight. The Syrian Catholic Church was not alone, with the leaders of the three Syria's major churches, the Greek Orthodox, Syriac Orthodox, and Melkite Greek Catholic Patriarchs, announcing they were cancelling Christmas festivities and limiting celebrations to religious ceremonies. In a joint statement, the trio apologized for not receiving Christmas and New Year greetings, adding that they were limiting ceremonies to prayers. Over in Turkey, on the rubble of ancient stones, Great Pine stands like a miracle. The only survivor of the Antioch Orthodox Church collapsed by the violent earthquake of 6th of February that swept through southern Turkey. According to Laura Swadioglu, the tree that was planted there 15 years ago has become a source of life, a light shining upon the souls of her departed ones. She said this as she contemplates the tiny lights delicately placed by the faithful, despite everything, to illuminate their Christmas tree in a landscape of apocalypse.
Anlatılmayacak kadar zor bir durum. Buranın temizliğini yaparken şimdi bu pisliğini görebilmek inanılmaz bir şekilde insanı acıtıyor. İnsanın canı acıyor. Ama sonradan yeniden doğacağımıza inanıyoruz. Bugün doğuş bayramıyla. Belki uzun sürecek ama seneler sonra tekrar bu kilisede bu ayini coşkuyla kutlayacağımıza inanıyoruz.
The quake that happened early this year has killed at least 50,000 people in Turkey and more than 5,000 in neighboring Syria. Now, the mood is different in the Western Hemisphere as Santas of all stripes descended on Florida's Cocoa Beach this Christmas Eve. Now, not to deliver presents, but to ride some waves and raise funds for a good cause. Beginning early Sunday, the beach filled up with thousands of adults and children alike dressed as Saint Nick, elves or reindeer for the annual Surfing Santa's celebration. Launched in 2009, the event raises funds for Grind for Life, a charity helping cancer patients travel for treatment, as well as a local surf museum. While dozens of wetsuit-clad surfers headed out into the chilly waters, albeit much warmer than the North Pole, others were content to lounge on the beach under cloudy skies, sipping cocktails and taking in the programming, including a costume contest and Hawaiian dance show. Under a tent, volunteers were selling T-shirts and raffle tickets to raise funds. Cocoa Beach lies along Florida's so-called Space Coast, just south of Cape Canaveral.
What a better place to come than Florida in the wintertime. So instead of scraping ice off your windshield, you're just rubbing wax on a board. So yeah, hopefully it'll go forever.
This is our home. We come home for Christmas and this is just what we do.
Yeah.
Every year, this is a tradition and we just love being out here, spending time with the community, showing the tourists who come to Cocoa Beach what it's all about.
Now, the joint U.S.-Canadian Military Monitoring Agency has continued its decades-long tradition of tracking Santa's whereabouts, helping children around the globe find out when his reindeer-powered present-filled sleigh is coming to town. A 3D interactive website at www.noradsanta.org showed Santa and his reindeer on their imagined worldwide delivery route, allowing users to click and learn more about the various cities along the way. The Santa Tracker, presented by the North American Aerospace Defense Command, or NORAD, dates to 1955, when a Colorado newspaper advertisement printed a phone number to connect children with Santa, but mistakenly directed them to the hotline for the Military Nerve Center. To avoid disappointing the little ones, NORAD's Director of Operations at the time, Colonel Harry Shoup, ordered his staff to check the radar to see where Santa might be and update the children on his location. When not spreading holiday cheer, NORAD conducts aerospace and maritime control and warning operations, including monitoring for missile launches from North Korea, something that may be on Santa's mind this year as he passes over with the most recent ICBM test just days ago. Ukrainian Orthodox Christians attended services on Sunday as the country prepares to celebrate Christmas on the 25th of December for the first time after the government changed the date from the 7th of January, when most Orthodox believers celebrate, in a snub to Russia. In the southern Black Sea port of Odessa, churchgoers prayed and lit candles as priests in golden vestments held Christmas Eve service in the Cathedral of the Nativity, decorated with fir trees and a nativity scene. Now, most Eastern Christian churches use Julian calendar, where Christmas falls on the 7th of January, rather than the Gregorian calendar used in everyday life and by Western churches. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky signed a law in July moving the celebration to the 25th of December, saying it allows Ukrainians to abandon the Russian heritage of imposing Christmas celebrations on the 7th of January. Now, the date change is part of hastened moves since the invasion to remove traces of the Russian and Soviet empires, such as by renaming streets and removing monuments. The Orthodox Church of Ukraine formally broke away from the Russian Orthodox Church over Moscow's annexation of Crimea in 2014 and its support for separatists in eastern Ukraine. Still to come, protest erupts in Belgrade after unfair elections. Stay with us.
Hai semua rakyat Malaysia, saya ingin mengucapkan selamat menyambut Hari Natal kepada masyarakat beragama Kristian. Semoga perayaan kali ini disambut dengan penuh keceriaan dan warna-warni. Dalam pada itu, saya juga ingin mengingatkan kepada semua untuk berhati-hati walau di mana saja anda berada. Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday!
Now, the head of the World Health Organization said yesterday the health system in Gaza was being destroyed and reiterated his call for a ceasefire. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus also hailed Gaza's medical workers who continue their work under increasingly dire circumstances. In an ex-post, he said the decimation of the Gaza health system is a tragedy, as he called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The UN Health Agency has long been sounding the alarm about the state of health care since the bloodiest ever war in Gaza erupted. Now, vast areas of Gaza lie in ruins, and its 2.4 million people have endured dire shortages of water, food, fuel and medicine due to an Israeli siege, alleviated only by the limited arrival of 8 trucks. Of Gaza's original 36 hospitals, only 9 are now partially functional, all of them in the south and all of them overwhelmed. After missions last week to 2 badly damaged hospitals in the north, Al-Shifa and Al-Ahli, whose staff described unbearable scenes of largely abandoned patients, including young children begging for food and water. Now, WHO warned that even as healthcare needs soar, only 38% of pre-conflict hospital beds remained available in the Palestinian territory, and only 30% of regional health staff was still working. At the same time, hospitals protected under international humanitarian law have repeatedly been hit by Israeli strikes since the war erupted. As of 20th of December, WHO had registered 246 attacks on healthcare in Gaza, including hospitals and ambulances, resulting in 582 deaths and 748 injuries. Now, Israel said the Gaza war against Hamas was taking its toll on troops as the focus of combat shifted to the south, where most displaced Palestinians are trapped. Now, vowing to destroy Hamas, Israel has led a relentless air and ground offensive that has left much of Gaza in ruins and killed more than 20,400 people, mostly women and children, according to Gaza's government. The toll included 166 deaths in the past 24 hours and 54,036 people had been wounded. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the war was exacting a very heavy price on Israel as the toll of soldiers killed in fighting with Hamas mounted to 153. He said this after the army announced that another 14 soldiers had been killed in Gaza since Friday. Nonetheless, Netanyahu insisted that his war will last a long time, and the Israeli army said it had attacked about 200 targets in Gaza over the past day. United States President Joe Biden earlier had a long talk with Netanyahu in which Biden emphasized the critical need to protect civilians. However, Biden reportedly did not ask for a ceasefire. Now, Turkey's Air Force conducted airstrikes in northern Iraq and Syria on Saturday and destroyed 29 targets of the outlaw Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK, after 12 soldiers were killed in the past 2 days in northern Iraq. Now, Turkey's defense ministry said it has neutralized 30 PKK fighters in northern Iraq so far, citing Defense Minister Yasar Güler. Turkey typically uses the term neutralized to mean killed. The ministry said 29 targets, including caves, bunkers, shelters, oil installations and warehouses, were destroyed during the operation. Now, the PKK, designated a terrorist group by Turkey, the United States and the European Union, took up arms against the Turkish state in 1984. Turkey regularly carries out airstrikes in neighboring Iraq as part of its offensive against PKK based there. Güler was at the command center following the airstrikes overnight and addressed the pilots, congratulating them for a successful operation. Now, later on Sunday, he attended the funerals of the soldiers killed and visited the wounded who are being treated in hospitals. The Iranian Navy displayed its new cruise missiles to the media on Sunday as the United States accused Iran of a drone attack on a chemical tanker in the Indian Ocean. Now, according to the head of Iran's Navy, Shahram Irani, reconnaissance helicopters, drones and marine cruise missiles with a range of 1,000 kilometers were among the new weapons added to the Navy's arsenal.
یک موشک کاملا هوشمند در طول عملیات پروازیش امکان این رو وجود داره که هم به صورت هوشمندانه و هم از طریق خود سامانه مادر اهداف جدید براش تعریف بشه.
Although Western military analysts say Iran sometimes exaggerates its capabilities, Iranian-made missiles and drones are a key element in Tehran's military hardware. Now, the U.S. Department of Defense said on Saturday that a drone sent from Iran struck a Liberian-flagged chemical tanker in the Indian Ocean, an incident highlighting rising regional tensions and a new risk to shipping lanes in the wake of Israel's atrocious actions in Gaza. Now, Iran on Saturday denied U.S. accusations that it was involved in planning attacks by Yemen's Tehran-aligned Houthi movement on commercial vessels in the Red Sea. Protesters hurled stones at Belgrade City Hall on Sunday, demanding the annulment of parliamentary and local elections a week ago that international observers said were unfair. Now, thousands gathered in the Serbian capital in an anti-government protest, which turned into clashes with riot police. Now, witnesses said police fired pepper spray after a crowd tried to break in to the Belgrade City Hall, where the local election commission is based. Now, some of the protesters were even seen climbing the building and broke windows. The populist ruling Serbian Progressive Party, or SNS, won 46.72% of the votes in snap parliamentary elections last weekend, according to State Election Commission preliminary results. An international monitoring mission on Monday said the SNS gained an unfair advantage through media bias, the improper influence of President Alexander Vučić, and voting irregularities such as vote buying. However, Vučić insisted that the elections were fair. 4 French judges on Sunday began questioning more than 300 Indians traveling on a plane detained near Paris over suspicion of human trafficking. The Nicaragua-bound Airbus A340 has been held at Vatry Airport, 150 kilometers east of Paris, since arriving from Dubai on Thursday for refueling after an anonymous tip-off that it was carrying potential victims of human trafficking. The judges have the authority to extend the detention order being used by border police by 8 days initially, and for another 8 if required. They have 2 days to complete speaking to the passengers, and the judges are being helped by translators. Now, according to Paris prosecutors, there are 303 passengers, including 11 unaccompanied minors, and the flight operated by Romanian company Legend Airlines are holed up in the airport. Now, 10 of the passengers have requested asylum. 2 passengers in custody since Friday had their detention extended Saturday evening for up to 48 hours, according to the Paris prosecutor's office. Investigators have checked the identity of passengers and flight crew and are verifying the conditions and purposes of their travel. Chad's Electoral Commission announced that the African country's new constitution was approved by 86% of voters in a referendum held a week ago. However, opposition leaders challenge the figures. The country's military rulers have promoted the new constitution as a key step in the path back to civilian rule, but it had been denounced by opposition politicians, with some calling for a boycott of 17th of December. Now, turnout stood at 63.75%, which opposition leaders contested. The electoral authorities said that apart from some minor dysfunctions, the referendum had passed off smoothly. The results are preliminary, with the definitive results due removed from the Supreme Court on the 28th of December. The referendum is a key step in the return to civilian rule by the end of 2024, promised by the military leaders. But many opposition leaders say it is just a show to prepare the way for the eventual election of military leader General Muhammad Idris Deby Itno, who assumed power in 2021 following the death of his father, who himself took power in a coup 33 years ago. Now, a fire broke out at Ankura Hospital in India's Hyderabad city on Saturday evening and caused massive damages to the building. However, no deaths or injuries were reported. Now, the building involved was 8-storied with 3 floors from the ground, functioning as Ankura Hospital. Following a distress call, 5 fire attendants from Langar House, Rajendra Nagar Assembly, Gauli Guda and Madhapur fire stations rushed to the spot and doused the flames. There were about 15 patients in the hospital at the time of the fire, all of whom have been shifted to a different hospital and no injuries have been reported. A local fire official said the fire started when a LED sign at the hospital caught fire due to an overheated light bulb. The traffic flow around the building was also affected by congestion and slow movement witnessed for about an hour after the incident. Now, such accidents are common in India and are often blamed on people flouting safety norms as well as lax inspection by government officials. German police announced Saturday evening that they were searching the cathedral in the western city of Cologne with sniffer dogs following a danger warning for New Year's Eve. Now, police said after the evening mass and in agreement with the head of security at the cathedral, the site was searched with sniffer dogs and closed. Now, visitors on Sunday will be subject to security checks before entering the Cologne Cathedral. Officials in Austria, Germany and Spain have all received indications that an unnamed group was planning several attacks in Europe, possibly on New Year's Eve and Christmas. Now, the targets of these attacks could be Christmas masses in Cologne, Vienna and Madrid. Now, it was also reported that the special forces in the Austrian capital Vienna and in Germany had arrested suspects on Saturday. Austrian police said on Saturday they were stepping up checks, especially around churches, religious events and Christmas markets in Vienna. Now, due to a current risk assessment and the continued increased alert level, there is generally an increased risk in Austria during the Christmas holidays. Next in sports, billionaire Jim Ratcliffe buys 25% share of Manchester United. Stay with us.
Saya, Hanayo, Menteri Belia dan Sukan mengucapkan selamat menyambut Hari Christmas dan selamat Tahun Baru 2024 kepada semua penonton RTM.
Wolverhampton Wanderers continue their stellar home form with a 2-1 win over Chelsea in the Premier League last night, thanks to second-half strikes from Mario Lemina and Matt Doherty. Lemina headed in a Pablo Sarabia corner 6 minutes after half-time to give Wolves the lead before Doherty secured the win for Wolves with a second goal in added time. Christopher Nkunku netted a consolation goal for Chelsea, his first for the London club since his close season move. But Mauricio Pochettino's side could not find an equaliser as they fell to their 8th league defeat of the season. Now, the victory moved Wolves up to 11th, level with 10th place Chelsea on 22 points, but trailing the London side on goal difference. Ineos chairman Jim Ratcliffe has become a minority shareholder in Manchester United, buying a 25% stake for $33 per share. Now, this was confirmed by the Premier League Football Club following a bidding process that lasted more than 12 months. Qatar's Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani was also looking to buy the club but dropped out of the process, saying he would not be raising his $6 billion offer, leaving the British billionaire to strike a deal with the owners, the Glazier family. Now, Ratcliffe's Ineos will also take on the management of Manchester United's soccer operations and invest $300 million in the club. Manchester United, in a statement, said that as part of the transaction, Ineos has accepted a request by the board to be delegated responsibility for the management of the club's football operations. Now, this will include all aspects of the men's and women's football operations and academies, alongside 2 seats on the Manchester United PLC board and the Manchester United Football Club boards. Now, Ratcliffe's Ineos also owns French Ligue A club Nice, Swiss Super League side FC Lausanne Sport, and works with Racing Club Abidjan of Ivory Coast League 1. Now, it is also behind the Grenadiers, one of the world's most successful cycling teams. Final item on boxing, British heavyweight Anthony Joshua dominated Otto Wallin at Riyadh's Kingdom Arena yesterday, with the Swede's corner stopping the fight in the break between the 5th and 6th rounds. With soccer star Cristiano Ronaldo watching ringside alongside former UFC champion Conor McGregor, Joshua, a 2-time unified heavyweight champion, hurt Wallin in the 5th, throwing thunderous hooks with both hands to leave the Swede unsteady on his feet. Now, after heading back to his corner, Wallin never re-emerged as his team told the referee he could not continue. In the co-main event, New Zealand heavyweight Joseph Parker put on a brilliant discipline display to pull off a sensational unanimous decision win over American Deontay Wilder. Now, after a cautious opening, Parker dictated the pace, controlling the center of the ring and landing jabs and occasional power shots to score. Now, fighting for the first time in more than a year, 38-year-old Wilder struggled to land with his usual power, and instead Parker pummeled him in the corner towards the end of the 8th round, almost forcing a stoppage. The 3 judges scored the fight 118 to 111, 118 to 110, and 120 to 108 for the 31-year-old Kiwi, leaving Wilder's possibility of fighting Joshua before another world title bid in serious doubt.
76 minit tanpa henti.
76 minutes non-stop. Transparent and concise.
Paparan komprehensif, ringkas dan padat. Saksikan Kanta 744, 7.44 malam. Berita perdana 8 malam.
Malaysia tonight, 8:30 p.m.
And that ends this Christmas edition of World Today. Wrapping up with a recap of our top story today, grim Christmas in Bethlehem as the war rages on. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and saluran Berita RTM. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From all of us here at RTM, we wish you a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday. I'm Jessica Lee, Malaysia Madani, Teka Perpaduan Penuhi Harapan.